If a foreign national is unable to speak English, lives in social housing, claims benefits, refuses to work, fails to integrate, commits crime, or even actively hates our way of life and wishes to do us harm, then they must leave or be made to leave. Restore Britain will make our communities safe again for women and children. That I promise you.
Is there hope for Britain, or better still, is Britain about to be saved? So Rupert Lowe, the wonderful, charismatic British parliamentarian, just launched a new political party, Restore Britain. And I couldn't be more happy for the people of Britain. So guys, in Britain, we have Labour, the party of newcomers who are hell-bent on erasing Britain as we know it. Then we have Nigel Farage's Reform Britain, which gave the Brits a ray of sunshine. But now we have Restore Britain, which has now been introduced by Rupert Lowe, who used to be a member of Reform Britain. But guys, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this particular video, I want you to take note of this. There is a huge difference between the two words, reform and restore. To reform is to try to amend or to salvage something that has gone corrupt, to make changes to a horrible situation, to make it look better. But to restore is to bring something back to its original form. So in this case, it wouldn't mean to amend or to make it better, but it would be to bring it back to how it was in the first place. So these two parties seem like the good ones in Britain right now. But mind you, one party wants to rehabilitate grooming gangs and reform them into upright, law-abiding individuals, even if these guys are recent immigrants. They have no British bloodlines. And the other party wants to outrightly deport all of them back to where they came from. So there will no longer be the mention of grooming gangs or so-called transformation or reformation of these grooming gangs in Britain. In other words, Britain will revert back to how it was before the grooming gangs arrived. Now, I hope you guys are following my train of thought, okay? So with that, I'm gonna introduce the guy who might be the hope of Britain. And then afterwards, we're gonna find out why he left or why he was essentially kicked out of Reform Party. And then we will briefly weigh in which is better for the people of Britain, the Reform Party or Restore Britain. Here we go.
I have chosen to speak to you today from the farm because places like this represent what proper Britain is about. Hard work, responsibility, effort, duty, stewardship. This is the England I know, and this is the England that I love. On a farm, you don't think in election cycles or headlines or polling. You think in seasons. You think in generations, in what you leave behind to those who come after you. And that's why, here on the farm, I am now launching Restore Britain as a national political party. I'm now going to dedicate my life to finding, organising, funding, and providing hundreds of qualified candidates to present to the British people at the next general election. This process has already started, with invitations being issued to patriots in aligned political parties, Reform, the Conservatives, the SDP, Advance, and more. In local politics, we will work in partnership with localised political parties, such as Great Yarmouth First, that have the best interests of their residents at heart, combining our forces at the next general election. The men and women standing for Restore in that election will not be politicians. I promise you that. They will not be failed ministers. They will not be tainted by failures of the past. They will be from business, from the military, from science, from medicine, from education, from industry, representing real communities up and down the country. Every single one will be from well outside the existing political establishment, and every single one will understand the difficult decisions that need to be taken. Because there are no easy fixes. I'm not going to tell you comforting lies about the condition of our country. I have only ever been honest with the British people, and I will be straight with you now. What is necessary will be incredibly painful. But for the first time in a very long time, voters will have a genuine alternative which is truthful with them about the scale of what now has to be done. The first priority is to control who comes to our country, and more importantly, who stays in our country. Restore Britain will not just stop mass immigration, we will reverse it. Every single illegal migrant will be securely detained and then deported. The message will be unrelenting. If you are in this country without our permission, you will be removed. For the foreseeable future, far more people must leave Britain than arrive. If a foreign national is unable to speak English, lives in social housing, claims benefits, refuses to work, fails to integrate, commits crime, or even actively hates our way of life and wishes to do us harm, then they must leave or be made to leave. Restore Britain will make our communities safe again for women and children. That I promise you. If that means millions go, then millions go. We're constantly told that the economy needs vast swathes of low-skilled migrants. We know that's simply not true. What we need is to get millions of healthy Brits back into work. A radical overhaul of how welfare is delivered. Protecting those in genuine need, but not funding healthy shirkers to live off the back of hard-working men and women. If you can work, you must work. It really is that simple. Restore Britain will be abundantly clear. If you consistently refuse work, then you will lose your benefits. We will punish indolence, and more importantly, we will reward success. We will provide vast economic incentives for men and women to start businesses, generate opportunities, build wealth, and create self-sufficient families. Standing here today on the farm, I know exactly what it means to deal with energy bills, labour shortages, regulation, unproductive paperwork, planning restrictions, tax, and endless uncertainty. The state has definitively become the enemy of the people. Restore Britain will burn away suffocating taxes on work and enterprise. We will slash unnecessary regulation. We will dismantle bloated quangos and the overbearing HR culture. We must crush parasitic Britain. We will restore long-term, stable, logical policy so that businesses can plan and invest and grow again. But Restore Britain is about much more than numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about who we are as a nation and who we are as a people. Britain is not just an economy. Britain is not just an idea. Britain is not just a passport. Britain is a nation. Britain is a people, our people. And Restore Britain will never allow that to be erased. We will celebrate our Christian heritage and the identity that built and shaped this country. Responsibility, restraint, forgiveness, duty, and fairness. In short, a high-trust society. That will mean defending our culture. That will mean resisting the relentless creep of radical Islam. That will mean banning the burqa, outlawing Sharia law, blocking cousin marriages, and reimposing our Christian-based rule of law. A Restore Britain government would legislate to ensure that no halal or kosher slaughter on British soil. This is Britain, and we will do things our way. This political party now exists for one reason: to restore Britain, to make it a better, safer, and more prosperous place for British men and women to raise their families. It will be difficult, and it will be painful. But I assure you, it is possible. I hope you will consider joining me on this journey and becoming a member of our party. It is our country. It is now our collective responsibility to act. Together, we will restore Britain. Thank you.
My God, that was magnificent. It was powerful. Only a brainwashed Brit would not want what Rupert wants for Britain, or one who claims to be more Brit than actual Brit but isn't actually British. Those are the only people who would not support this particular message. If I were living in Britain today, that video would hit me like a gut punch of pure relief, because this right here is the answer. He said, what is necessary will be incredibly painful, but it is entirely necessary. Millions have to go. Illegal immigration will be a thing of the past. British women can walk their streets safely again. Your Christian heritage, your values, your culture, the very thing that built the British nation gets put first, not last, like we are seeing today. Now, after years of watching your towns change beyond recognition, your heritage diluted, and your way of life pushed to the brink, this is the leadership real native Britons have been praying for. It should be the leadership they have been asking for. And I know many people are going to be like, well, talk is cheap. This is just talk. But I beg to differ, because guys, you see, Rupert Lowe has already showed that he is more than just a powerful speaker. Yes, he is a very wonderful speaker, but he has shown that he is more than that. During his time in the Reform UK, many supporters felt that he consistently translated his words into visible action by challenging party leadership, raising issues others avoided, and firmly representing the concerns of ordinary voters across the United Kingdom. His reputation grew not simply because of rhetoric, but because people saw him push debates into the mainstream and hold firm on principles he openly defended. Now, that track record gives weight to his new Restore movement, suggesting that it is rooted in conviction rather than convenience. Now, whether people agree with him or not, his past influence demonstrates that he has already made a tangible impact and that his new party is built on more than talk alone. Now, this man is somebody who is not afraid to defend his position, no matter how unorthodox people may find his position. In fact, he was the only person who had the gall to challenge his party leader, Nigel Farage, back when he was part of the Reform Party, and which I think is the main reason he was kicked out of the Reform Party. Now, Nigel Farage wanted to reform the criminals in Britain, like the grooming gangs who traumatized and assaulted thousands of British young girls. He wanted to reform them to make them better people, but Lowe saw the doom in it. He had no intention of reforming people who don't even understand what respect for women mean. People with different cultural background, people who are not born or raised in Britain, people who have different values, whose cultures do not align with British values. So Rupert wanted them deported. All of them, including the families who covered for them. But Nigel Farage couldn't bear letting them go. He wanted to reform and transform them. And then when Rupert disagreed on this and challenged Nigel Farage on this issue, he was essentially kicked out of Reform Britain. Now, Rupert Lowe has exposed this many times on his social media pages, like when he posted these kind of things. But guys, I'm not telling you to take his word for it. Just let us listen to Nigel Farage inadvertently expose himself. Here is a speech given by Nigel Farage. So the title says, so deporting rape gangs and those who covered it up is not on your agenda, Nigel Farage, because that is what Rupert Lowe alluded to, and you have just admitted that that is why you got rid of him. Hope all your reformers have seen this and it sinks in. Let's watch.
You know, people think, oh, Farage has done it. We'll just set a party up. It'll be marvellous. We'll sweep the next election. It just isn't as easy as that. Now, does he have a profile on X? Yes, he does. Is Elon going to support him? Probably. But you see, when he stood up and said that we've got to consider the mass deportation of entire communities, including those born in the United Kingdom, that just moves way beyond a point of reasonableness, of decency, of morality. And that was the moment at which, I realised we just had to get rid of him and get rid of him as quickly as we could. And I think in terms of the way we dealt with that, we were probably more brutal than the other parties, but you know what? That's the way it's going to be. Thank you.
So this man doesn't really want to see illegal immigrants deported from Britain. That is why he went on to misrepresent what Rupert Lowe said about deportation. Yes, Rupert called for the deportation of illegal immigrants and the grooming gangs who assaulted and exploited lots and lots of young British girls, as well as the families of those grooming gangs who covered up for them. But Nigel Farage is making it look like Rupert Lowe called for the deportation of all immigrants in the UK, which is absolutely impossible and very far from what Rupert Lowe was clamoring for. I have found videos showing that Nigel Farage actually wants the support of Muslims because, according to him, there is a greater population of Muslim communities in the UK, and antagonizing them will make him lose the election for the position of Prime Minister. That is what he said. Take a listen.
But the nub of it is, we have a Muslim population in Britain growing by about 75% every 10 years. Right? That's just where we are. If we politically alienate the whole of Islam, we will lose. We'll lose.
So how does one include
We
them?
will lose. By 2050, goodness knows what kind of a terrible state we're going to be in.
So yes, he doesn't want to displease the Muslim population by demanding for the deportation of illegals. And we know that there is a lot of illegals in the Muslim community. And even though he won the heart of the British people for Reform Party by demanding for mass deportations of illegals, now his tone has totally changed because he himself announced that it is impossible to deport these illegals. Take a look. He announced that, listen,
these people need to go, don't they? And by saying that you don't support mass deportations...
If I say I support mass deportations, that's all anybody will talk about for the next 20 years. So it's pointless even going there.
So it's a rhetorical problem.
It's a political impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people. We simply can't do it.
It might also interest you to know that Reform Party is now filled with ex-Tory MPs and immigrant MPs and leaders. People with no British bloodline, which is something somebody like me have always advocated against. I mean, why would you allow people who are not indigenous to your nation to rule over you? Imagine a Pakistani coming to Nigeria to become a governor of a state. Are you crazy? That is impossible. We would never allow that. Why would you want foreigners who claim that they are now citizens to become leaders in your land? Because these people will first of all make policies and laws that will favor them at the expense of the natives. But this is what we are seeing in the Reform Party that Nigel Farage have created. And this is one of the reasons that somebody like me supports Rupert Lowe 100%. Unfortunately, I also understand that we might be getting another election victory for the Labour Party because with the new Restore Party, the British vote are going to be divided between Restore and Reform. Because yes, Reform Party still have a lot of supporters, massive British supporters, because of course it has existed way longer than the new Restore Britain Party. But I am sincerely hoping that the British people can be able to differentiate from what they truly want. I am just hoping for the best. And that is it. So guys, what do you think? Reform Party or Restore Party? Which do you think is better for Britain? As always, guys, these are my thoughts and my opinions. Please feel free to share yours in the comment section below, but do so respectfully. Also, if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, honestly, I don't know what you're waiting for. Subscribe to the channel. Like and share this video to keep people informed, and consider joining my membership or supporting the channel in any way that you can. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. For now, peace.